namely reduced cost in product information flows in this way. Because what goes on the market, the most common way to share product information is doing it around in spreadsheets and stuff like that, and that's of course very cumbersome and error prone. So therefore we have launched a service where the manufacturers will be able to push their product information in one uniform way, and then the resellers can pull the product information in their way, and if you look at it from the other side, the merchants can pull it in one way, and while the manufacturers has pushed it in many different ways. So it's a cloud service. It's more than a multi-tenant cloud service, because you actually interact with your partners in that cloud service. So it more resembles a social network like LinkedIn. So what you do there is that you accept partnership and request partnerships and accept partnerships with your trading partners. So the question, sorry.
I'd like, sorry for my interruption.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, have you already some existing data from different brands which I can use, which already exist in your database?
Yeah, we have some different tenants who have some data in here now. I guess it's quite unlikely that it's something that collides or interacts with what you're doing, but that's possible. And I'm also going to show you some data in the demo, because the demo is based on one of these trials about what data they have put up there and how they have done it. So you have an idea about that. So there are some data from some manufacturers, but we are still have to be honest about that. We are still we are startup as well. So we are in an early stage here. So, yeah, and the way it does this is that the situation is that manufacturers may have many different standards that they use. There are some in play in the global spectrum there. There's something called GPC, which is mainly in food and beverage, guided by this organization called GS1, which is a non-profit organization, but as said, it's mostly in food and beverage. Then there's what you'll usually call OnSpec, which again is a classification by the United States. That's another way to classify your products, so you can use this OnSpec classification. So there's a lot of clever people who already have thought out a classification of products there. And sometimes you are obliged to use that standard. For instance, if you take place in public tenders, or some marketplaces ask you to classify your products according to OnSpec. Then there's a third classification called E-Class. It has been developed out of Germany, mostly penetrated in Germany, but also other countries. And this is a much more thorough classification than OnSpec, because it not only classifies the products, it also tells you what attributes are needed for a product, a given application, and it has some coding systems for these attributes. ETIM is a bit also like E-Class, but restricted to some products. I mean, it's technical products, plumbing stuff. Again, say many of these stuffs you use around building materials and stuff like that. It's actually a standard who has come out of the Netherlands, so we're quite penetrated in the Netherlands for technical products. And then there's other specific standards for each industry, and then again, I guess the most common one is your homegrown standard, because many companies have their own standards because they have thought that out, because they are so clever about their manufacturing, and it's quite granular to them. And then, of course, again, we have these attributes requirements which are covered by standards like ETIM and E-Class, others, and again, homegrown there. So of course, that's one variance from manufacturer to manufacturer you have to take in consideration. And also, again, what exchange method do they want? Some wants to make file drops, so we take in file drops on the FTP servers. Some wants to use API can do that. Some wants to do file import, and some wants to type them into Product Data Lake, and that's possible. It's not really developed for heavy typing into Product Data Lake, but it's possible.
Agree. Yeah.
And then if you look at the other side, at the merchant side, you have exactly the same thing. You have these different standards they want. You have for classifications, for attributes. And say the beauty about Product Data Lake is that we don't promote one single standard and then everyone has to shoehorn their data into that standard. So we actually can make the tagging and the mapping between these standards, so it can come in with one standard and come out with another standard. And again, also you have the free choice of your exchange method. You can take the data via file drops. We have a concept called pull requests, so you can make a pull request into the Product Data Lake, and then you will get all the new data or total refreshment, if you like that, from a given manufacturer or range of manufacturer or whatever filter you like. You can pull your data via APIs, which is especially good for instance, if you want to push through prices and stock levels, because you can do that say whenever you like it, and then you can get that data via APIs, and we can take internal file drops as well. So we call it product data syndication freedom, because there's freedom on both sides. Of course, we have to consider at your place, if you say consider you as the only merchant, or you have or you would have someone who actually would take these data and resell them, like marketplaces or large retailers or e-tailers. In Europe, there's still a lot of them, and which makes sense for being resellers. So that might be a way also to push the product information to these ones.
Both different ways. Our potential customers will sell these products from our platform. So we provide them own online store, but based on our platform. Also, we will provide data exchange.
So in this case, we might consider you as one merchant, and then you should consider the business benefits from this as being that instead of developing a lot of different standard conversions and file exchange methods against your customers, then you can provide Product Data Lake as your single way of collecting data, and then we have all the logic and all the services ready for that, so you don't have to reinvent that wheel in your platform.
May I ask you some question? We have to provide a lot of different product information data from different brands. Their brands mostly they are very small. They mostly have only 1, 2, 3 products, no more. No large categories. So some of this data we have to provide by our forces, or we can provide them some input, some like login, and they can put it themselves. It's some of our thoughts.
Yeah. So I said you can also do typing in Product Data Lake. It hasn't been the main focus of having very good ways of typing in data. So that you might see that as an disadvantage for these very small ones. I have to accept that. But again, we are always open to say develop new things in our platform. So that could be another way, instead of you developing that and then taking batches in another way, we can actually put such a service into Product Data Lake, and then we have it, and it will not be any cost for you. It just be okay. Then we have enhanced our platform with that as well. Let's see.
Okay.
We actually we have a software development partner who's based out in Vietnam for cost reduction purposes, of course. But they're quite good. Of course, they are some way competitor to you.
It doesn't matter for us. We are working in two different way. So our approach is so different. So we don't see on different outsource companies as competitors, because we are working in totally different way. We don't sell ours. We don't sell our stuff. We don't work in our stuff model. We are providing a solution. So that is why I'm speaking with you like I'm looking like technical partner. I'm not a co-founder yet, but a lot of companies where we are starting to work together to making analytics, development, architecture. They are suggest us to become co-founders. So we are working in a totally different way. So.
Okay, very good.
And of course we can make something mutual about development, about improvement, or even about engaging a lot of customers who could be our mutual customers, but we are not competitors with you, for example.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Okay.
Look. What I need to provide now, for example, I need I have to collect some preliminary data from our potential pilot customers, from brands.
Yeah.
So I'd like to provide them first some category. They need to prepare their data to become it more standardized. So may I ask you to get your data structure? I mean categories. I mean specs. Each specs set should be related to the category. To each category. Also, it should be clear, and it should be separated because some specs will be general and some specs will be secondary, because general is important to make filtration of products on the for end customer, for end buyer. In one store. And also it should be related in units, unit measurement. So it should be standardized, and that is why I need it now. May I ask you to provide me this information, this data structure? Of course, we can on the next stage we can discuss with you some exchange method, which method will be better. Maybe API. I think it will be better if we will use API, and we can discuss some protocol, or maybe we will rely to, for example, Google Shopping protocol or something similar, some standard. Better to stick to some standard, international standard. So, is it possible?
Yes, of course, and of course our model is quite generic, so we can say about everything. But I follow your way. You say, okay, I will make something against these ones, and one way of doing it is to say, okay, we will follow the on-spec classifications. That's one way, or the E-class, or whatever I can suggest. What would be the difference there, and then that can be the basis of that, and then it will be quite easy to do that.
Okay. Also, a question: can you provide some service for content handling? I mean, the content from manufacturer, from brand, it is always non-structured, or it could be structured in some different formats. So it's always incompatible with some structure. Could you provide also this handling and preparing all this content And
Yeah.
I understand it could be some extra costs.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yes,
And
okay.
we have, yeah, we have actually several partners who do that. Um, we do that all the time for everyone else, and they also do that, say, around our platform. So they act as someone doing that, and we have actually also experimented. We are not that far yet, but we have actually experimented with using artificial intelligence and doing that. That takes a lot of training, but if someone has sitting there and done the same same thing many times, and then we can extract rules and processes,
Okay.
which are there. So, but it's future, but it's that way we are going.
Okay, okay. We also can consider some mutual things about it. If
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I need first these technical docs from
Yeah.
you, and maybe it will be nice to if you will provide me some demo if I will try something, so to input some data manually or upload some, or I will maybe prepare this data. First data, not so large amount or not so large volume of this data, but I will try to understand if we are suitable and if we will be good each other for each other. Okay.
Yeah. So do you have some of your prospects who already have some data we can play a little with, or how is that?
Everything in development process, or maybe much earlier even. We are researching now the optimal way,
Okay.
which service we can use, which one of them will be more compatible with us, and how to be more useful for each other. So this way. So it's researching process yet.
Yeah. All right. So you think the next step will be that I will send you some material about the standards and the way we put things in and out, and then you will take it where I can definitely make a trial account for you that you can log into, and I can also give you an account you can log into and see someone who has already put some data in there. Or if you have time, I can show you now. If you have time.
Is it not so long?
No, I'll use 5 minutes.
Okay, would be nice.
If that's useful. Oh yeah, if that's useful for you.
Let's do it together here.
Yeah. So let me find ProductDataLake here.
First step is login.
Yeah. So I will log in here on an account for an existing trial. Yeah, so they have put in some data around one partnership, 700 products or things like that. So if we look at the products that they have provided into the platform here, they sell working clothes, so clothes you wear when you work, and the first one here is a leather belt, and it's structured in the way that you have a leather belt. And you have
internal ID is ID of your platform, yeah.
Sorry?
Internal ID is ID generated by your platform.
Internal ID is their material number at them, and then the GTIN is the global trade identification number, which they also have. They have got a series of numbers from GS1, and then they have applied that. This is actually an European article number. Could also be an UPC, which is a universal product code in use in North America, or there's also a standard for a global one there. So yes, these are the two IDs here. So they have a leather belt. This leather belt comes in 3 sizes: 110 centimeters, 85, and 95 centimeters. For the leather belt, they have some generic data about the season code, a status code, a unit of measure, and a description in 2 languages, in this case in Danish and in English. but we can take whatever language here.
Also, we need a multi-language platform.
Yes, yes, and we fully support that. The data can come in different languages. The metadata, the attributes, descriptions can come in different languages, and we can also provide the interface in different languages. Right now we have just English, and then we have translated
it's
it
okay.
to English, but yeah,
it doesn't matter.
so,
Okay.
but yeah, fine, good. So these are the data that is applied to the leather belt and such, and then they also have some data which are applied to the exact length of that one, and how many do they have in stock, and a description which can be different.
On the left side, I see attribute from general from whole platform, and the right side is chosen for this kind of product. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. So you could say, well, we also want to have an inseam for this belt, which doesn't make sense for the belt, only for trousers. But anyway, if you want that, you could say that, okay, I want that data for that belt as well, and you can apply that. But it's not part of the standard. A part of the standard inseam is not something you apply to a belt. So that's why.
Okay.
And then they can have the attributes they have around. So they have some different attribute groups where they have different things. So for instance, in general, they will say that for this kind of product, we want these data here. This is their own standard. It could have been if we, for instance, like to create a whole new attribute for that. You could say that I want to tag this with a standard, for instance, if it should be this is called e-team, so it could be this called type. This was A, B, C, 1, 2, 3 at E-class, for instance. So E-class says that if you have an attribute called ABC 1, 2, 3, that means something which everyone knows. You can tag it with that. And
do you name attribute something similar to specs features?
Yes, a specification is a range of attributes. So these are what generally also called as specification. Yes, do that.
Have you already category 3?
Yes, for instance, it could be if you have on-spec. I think we have put on-spec into here. So if you have an attribute type here, no, I can't get it up here. But if they could have used on-spec, and so if they have applied on-spec to that, then you have a category 3. If you have applied E-class, you can do that as well. So and then the category 3 would be available for you inside here.
Okay.
Sometimes, mostly actually, people apply that categorization in their sourcing system and then just push it through to ProductDataLake. But we can also apply it inside at ProductDataLake as well. The other scenario is the most common one.
Okay.
So we could, if I for example log out here, and then I could log into our administration as an administrator here.
You have more rights here.
So, yeah, and you can do that. So I could here manage the attribute types here, and then for instance you can see we have the on-spec categorization tree here, where you have it says it's on-spec, it says it's that code according to ANSYS, and in English in English that then the categorization say cats and dogs and so on. I think there's 75,000 different categories for a product that you can apply here, and we have them all in here, and we can have all other kinds of of categories as well. Draw units, whatever, serial units, yeah.
And have you already connected, connected specs for each category?
Yes, if you use eTeam or E-class standard, then there also will be specs available for each category. So say we haven't reinvented the wheel here. We have just make it possible for you to use some of the standards already in use out there. So if it's a technical product and it's in Holland, maybe eTeam makes sense. If it's another kind of product that it's meant for Germany, then E-class may make sense there. And if it's a medical device or something like that, it might be a specific pharma categorization and things like that you can use. There's quite a lot of diversity out here, but we are able to take them all in and mix and match them.
Okay. It would be nice, of course, if I will try to put some my data from our manufacturer, and I will try to do it. Of course, I will understand much more, and I will understand how it works.
Yes.
And
yes.
I will ask more questions.
And I have best experience with that. We start with that. You give me the data, and then I put them in. Just to see how I would put them in, and then you in the next round could play with actually putting in themselves and stuff like that. So we take it that way.
Okay. Looks interesting, and seems time to understand when you will provide me more technical information. Categories.
Yes, I will.
And after that, I will try. If you will provide me some demo, I will try to put some new product which is not exist in your database, and then after that we can continue. Okay.
Yes. All right. Very good.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Henrik. Very nice to meet you. Very nice to know you here.
So, okay, speak to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.